A 6-year-old boy's tragic plight is revealed when police break down the door of his home and find him sobbing uncontrollably. Sally Peterson leaned against her windowsill, her thoughts swirling. Had the cries she heard last night been real, or just her imagination? At 80 years old, and having faced her share of hardships, it wouldn't have been unusual for her to imagine things, but something about Jason's cries felt too vivid to ignore. Determined to uncover the truth, she sought out her trusted neighbor, Mrs. Martin. "Hello, Billy," Sally began anxiously. "Sorry to show up unannounced, but did you hear Jason crying around 9 p.m. last night?" "Oh, Sally, good morning. Come on in. I was just making tea." "What did you say? Jason? The little boy? Who's dad?" "Exactly, Billy," Sally interrupted. "I noticed the boy crying loudly last night, and to be honest, I haven't seen his mother, Addison, at home in a few days. Do you think we should keep an eye on them? You know how abusive the boy's father is." "Darling," Billy replied, "when we invited Addison to a tea party last time, that man came up to our house and dragged her away. He's such a jerk, I tell you. Even his son. That poor, small boy, he's out of the ordinary. He hardly ever interacts with other children, and he can't even hold a conversation. Take my advice, Sally. Stay away from those weirdos." "But Billy, I'm worried about Jason. That boy, I'm sure, or at least I believe, it was him crying in the middle of the night." "Oh dear," Billy chuckled. "You know we're old friends, Sally. I'm sure it was all in your head. If something like that had happened, others would have heard it too. Anyway, 2 sugar cubes for your tea as usual." Sally gave a hesitant nod. "Oh, I do hope I'm wrong, Billy, and I hope you're right," she said, clinging to the hope that Jason was fine and it was all a figment of her imagination. But she heard the wailing sounds again that night. This time the cries seemed louder. Sally's hands trembled as she picked up the phone and dialed Billy. "Billy, I'm sure it's Jason crying. Let's go check on him, please. I feel like something's wrong." "All right, Sally, calm down. Let's get a few people to join us. I'm concerned, but we shouldn't go by ourselves." "Okay, I'll meet you at the front door," the elderly woman said before hanging up the phone. A few minutes later, Sally, Billy, and Billy's next-door neighbors, the Andersons, arrived at Jason's door. "Sally, I hate to admit it, but you were right," Billy said. "Carrie and Jake just told me that they overheard some of our neighbors complaining about Jason sobbing in the middle of the night. I hope the boy's okay." "Oh dear, I knew something was wrong. I hope that little boy is okay," Sally murmured, her heart racing in her chest. She rang the doorbell several times but got no answer. "Jason? Mr. Barrett? Could you please open the door? This is Sally Peterson, your next-door neighbor," she called out, her voice trembling with urgency. Again, there was no response, but the crying grew louder. "Jason, is that you, sweetheart? Could you please open the door? We're here to help you. You don't need to be afraid, okay?" Sally reassured him, figuring the boy was near the door, but he still didn't respond. At that point, the neighbors decided to call 911. Around 10 minutes later, what felt like an eternity to Sally, the cops arrived at the scene. Officer Reed, the chief inspector, directed his team to smash open the door after several unanswered knocks and doorbell rings. As the wooden door tumbled to the floor, they discovered little Jason whimpering under the stairway. "Don't worry, champ, you're safe now," Officer Reed reassured the child as he carried Jason to the police car. Sally quickly handed him her scarf. "Jason, honey, are you okay? Where are your mommy and daddy?" she asked gently. Mama, hospital, Daddy, scary," the boy kept repeating, crying uncontrollably. None of the neighbors could understand what he was trying to say, but Officer Reed quickly realized the boy had speech issues. "Jason, could you try to write or draw what you're trying to say?" "Do you want to draw for us?" Officer Reed asked. "Drawing, pencil, colors," Jason mumbled, along with other words that were hard to make out. "Ma'am," Officer Reed whispered to Sally, "could we get a plain sheet of paper and a few colored pencils? I think he's trying to tell us what happened to his parents." After providing Jason with crayons and paper, he drew a few things that caught Officer Reed's attention: an ambulance, a woman lying in a coffin, and a man with a bag leaving the house. Officer Reed concluded that the man was Jason's father leaving their home and that his mother was most likely deceased. However, to confirm the details, he decided it was best to contact a child specialist. Jason was escorted to the police station for further assistance. After almost 8 hours of counseling, the child therapist, Dr. Caroline Woods, confirmed Officer Reed's suspicions. Jason had overheard his father talking about leaving town after refusing to pay for Addison's medical treatment and abandoning her to die in the hospital. These events had traumatized Jason, leaving him scared to be alone and crying because he missed his mother. At one point, Jason had wanted to talk to his neighbors, but his father had threatened him, saying he would end up like his mother if he revealed anything. Following this terrible ordeal, Jason was sent to therapy, and Officer Reed frequently checked on him during his recovery. Meanwhile, Reed's team investigated Mr. Barrett's whereabouts. Addison's death was later confirmed at a city hospital. The search for Mr. Barrett lasted nearly 6 months before he was apprehended in Mexico. It turned out he and his wealthy girlfriend were on vacation when they got the news that he had been exposed for his crimes. In court, Mr. Barrett displayed complete lack of remorse. "She was nothing but a burden to us. That little weirdo should have died just like his pathetic mother. She was sick, and so is he sneered, mocking both his late wife and son. However, justice prevailed. After the trial, Mr. Barrett and his girlfriend were sentenced to prison, bringing an end to their cruelty. Jason's life took a turn for the better. Officer Reed and his wife, unable to have children of their own, lovingly adopted him as their son. With their care and consistent counseling, Jason overcame his speech issues and began to thrive. Today, Jason Reed is a successful TV presenter for a prominent news channel. Each time he looks into the camera, he silently thanks God for the night Sally and Officer Reed came to his rescue, forever changing his life.